talk to? What's going on? It is legit paranormal news brought to you by legitpodcast.com. I am blurry as all blurry can be. David, you're on mute. I'm going to unmute you. Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me at all? Back, I'll tell you what, Dave, back out of the thing and come back in the room and it'll sound better. Look at the sound. Get out of the room. Please come back in. Then come back in. Leave and then come back in. Leave and then come back. There we go. I'm trying to do hand signals. Anyways, it is April 18th, 2023. I'm still in Germany when I go back there. We got 419-2023 for the Mack week. With the 9 minus 4 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. And then 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 3 is 6. That's the best I can do for the Mack week. I am all over the place. Can you hear me now, David? Can you hear me now? So let me start that off again then, because we've had so many technical difficulties in that first 3 minutes that I think we set a record. So
All right.
it's me. Let me Dave, give me a 3, 2, 1 countdown so I can do this. Ready?
3,
Yeah.
2, 1.
Hey, who did you talk to? It's me, Mike Lepre, King Mike L. This is Legit Paranormal News brought to you by legitpodcast.com. It is April 19th, 2023. I've already broke it down for the math geeks. I am King Mike L.
I am Dreamy David Barr.
And now, David, as I go robotic for our top story.
All right. Mike, do you remember when they cloned that sheep back in 1996?
Alice.
Dolly.
Yeah. Close.
And people are like, well, if they're messing with animals, they're going to start messing with other things like people.
Well, they put the human ear on the rat.
Yeah.
What more can you do? I saw a human. I was standing at the pump. I'll never forget this. And I could not get the pump to like they don't make when you're freezing, you're staying in the cold. They make the pump slow down at like 70 cents on the dollar. Like like if you put in 20 at like 19 and like 70 cents, it just goes. And I'm like, you can't make it slow down at the 90-cent line, but you can grow human ear on a mouse.
Yeah.
Well, I digress. That's where I was at with my
life. Or have mushrooms run a computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is freaking me out right here. All right.
So let's that was 1996 that they started messing around with animals. So let's fast forward to 2018. Chinese geneticist He Wankui dropped a bombshell on the scientific world because he gene edited babies.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah. So obviously this is really controversial and it's a misuse of technology. He ended up doing 3 years in prison for it, for illegal medical malpractice. Illegal medical practices, I should say. But he got out about a year ago. And he was interviewed.
Wait a minute. So wait. I don't mean to interrupt you, Dave. I always don't mean to interrupt you. But did you say he was cloning babies?
He was genetically modifying babies.
Okay, making monsters, and he got 3 years.
3 years for illegal medical practice.
Okay, doesn't make any
sense.
Sense
he's been out for about a year now.
Good for him.
He says that he has some regrets about rushing into these experiments. He also said he did it too quickly. This was in an interview that he did with the South China Morning Post. His attempts to use the gene editing technique CRISPR, so it's CRISPR, on 3 separate babies. It was designed to modify a gene called CCR5, which is known to offer resistance to the HIV virus. So he was trying to edit these babies' genes in order to make them HIV resistant.
Because that's the main thing that we should be prepared for. Like he picked that one thing.
That's the one he zeroed in on.
Okay, that doesn't make much sense.
Other scientists, they're not convinced by these controversial experiments or his claimed outcomes. He has a bunch of unpublished studies that have been questioned by other scientists, some of who have gone on to refute his claims of having successfully edited this gene in a pair of twin baby girls. And regardless of the outcome, experts are saying, these experiments are extremely unethical. I mean, that's a given, right?
Well, all right. Wait a minute. First off, why are they always picking on twins? Like
I don't know.
twins, they get the shit end of the stick because there's two of them, and that's the perfect thing I would think to have to test. You got like comparison 1 and 2 right there, bing bang boom. But of course it's unethical. Like at what point was this even ethical? Like they considered it unethical. Good job, guys, because I didn't hear one ethical part.
Right. And you'd think if he was gonna use twins, he would like edit one and leave the other one alone and just kind of compare them. But no, he edited the genes in both of them.
Well, honestly, I would probably do. I would if I'm going to edit the genes on twins, I'm going to do both to see how they both grow and if they grow differently. Now, if I had triplets, then I'd have the placebo baby. Yeah, placebo baby. Yes.
All right, the placebo baby.
I don't know if that's ever been said, but yes.
I don't know. We should get T-shirts made.
Placebo baby.
Yeah.
When my wife was pregnant, she was pregnant with triplets. That's the first thing we heard, triplets. And you saw the sonogram. There were 2 babies here, like the sacs, I guess, and then one was way at the top. So they said there was a chance that one was not going to, And then I could not even believe or get my head wrapped around 3 kids. I was losing my mind. And then we went to the next sonogram, and we appalled the nurses because they came to us like in such a somber way and said, "You're only having twins." I mean, the wife like, down low, give me some elbow, because we were like, we couldn't deal with 3, and we knew we weren't supposed to have 3. Like that other thing wasn't really like, it was totally different. Like if you see, it was smaller at the top. It's not supposed to be there. It was like separated.
Yeah, exactly. You'd think they would have been together.
Yeah, my other 2 kids were on the bottom. Boy, girl sitting there like this, and this other sack was way at the top. So it didn't seem right to begin with. But I digress. We were happy because God gave us what we could handle. And boy, did he give us enough to handle.
One is hard enough, so I can't imagine having twins.
With a parent, no, I don't think the parents were informed, Audra. God help us. I don't think this was like a volunteer thing. I think this was like a grab and snatch of some kids that are either poor or Dave, would you know the answer to that?
We don't know because China's not releasing all the information behind this.
All you actually have to say moving forward is, we don't know. The info is from China. And then we just go, all right, yeah. And I think everybody does that now. They go, yeah, well.
And they're
going to tell us, yeah.
There's speculation that, there are people that knew he was going to do this and let him do it anyway. And others are saying that, the government had no knowledge. The scientific community had no knowledge that he was doing these things. So there's some question about that. And I don't know that we'll ever really get the answers to that.
Come on. I don't mean to sound like I don't like a certain country, but have you ever Googled their failed rocket experiments?
I have not.
They had one that was so brutal. It went up for 15 seconds. It came flat down on a city. I forget the name of the city. They claim no one died. And when they go the next day through it, all these buildings are ruined. Just ruined. It was a 19,000 pound ridiculous, I don't know, missile. If you watch it, crash. And they didn't report that stuff. There's been a bunch they've had explode. They never report that stuff. They don't report anything. So they could be like right now fiddling with twins, trying to make them like Schwarzenegger and DeVito, which I never, you know what? Did you hear about triplets?
What's that?
Do you know the movie Triplets is coming out?
No.
Schwarzenegger and DeVito find out they have another brother.
Well, if one of them was all the good genetic material and the other one was junk, what does that make the third one?
Tracy Morgan.
Is he just going to run around going, I'm going to get you pregnant?
Yeah. Come over, be my baby mama. He's funny, but too much of Tracy Morgan is too much of Tracy Morgan. And I don't see how that's funny. What are you gonna pitch us, guys? Like, what kind of witty banter am I gonna get between DeVito, Schwarzenegger, and Tracy Morgan that's gonna entertain me? I don't know. I'm sorry. I digress. It's just a bad They haven't made a new movie in years. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you. They keep rehashing the same stuff over and over. So let's fast forward. Here it is, years later. This guy's out of prison, and he's starting to speak about the girls and their current state. So he claims that they have normal, peaceful, and undisturbed lives.
Yep.
So, and he wants people to respect their privacy and that the happiness of these children and their families comes first. And as for their future, the consequences of gene editing humans is pretty much unknown. So he remained vague when he started talking about potential consequences. And he's saying that, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you have high expectations of them, but there's a huge unease. And they've been given the option for medical follow-ups for their individual needs once they turn 18, which that's kind of crazy too. They're babies, and we did these things to your kids, and now we're not going to follow up with them until they're 18. But he says they're committed to doing this for their lifetimes. I don't know.
Yeah. These kids that don't know a round block from a square block have decided that they're willing to be part of this experiment their whole lives, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. These kids know what they're talking about, right?
And do these kids, as they get older, do like their parents tell them, hey, when before you were born, we kind of messed around with you a little bit to see what would happen?
I think they need to know now that they're part of an experiment.
Well, they're still babies. They're still, they're probably around 4 years old now.
All right. So if these parents know about it, then they're scumbags, right?
Right.
So if I'm a scumbag, I'm going to convince the kid that he's a superhero and that every year he's going to get his superhero juice.
Until he becomes that, Mike.
Until he becomes a teenager. Then when he's a teenager, I got to figure that out. Tell him it's like a super sex pill. Get him going that way. It's all different coaching. If you're going to be a scumbag, you're going to convince somebody to do something. Like you got to figure out what their weakness is. Go ahead.
All right. So back to these kids. It's not known to what extent that they're being monitored now. And there's a red flag because if their genome's been, analyzed, are there unwanted mutations? If so, have these mutations been detected? And scientists are saying that the gene editing technique that Jean Couey used is far from perfect. So it's not even a technique that they've perfected.
So let's get something on the plate here. These people that do these type of experiments, all right?
Yeah.
They're never going to tell you the negatives completely.
No.
They're never going to ruin their own product. Now, this could be strikingly similar to a other hot topic that gets edited repeatedly, allegedly. But it's similar in a way. In other words, how do you know what's going to happen, good or bad, by changing something, doing something, giving something, taking something in 18 years if no one's ever gone 18 years doing this? It's always going to be a complete. If they gave you a new Flintstone vitamin tomorrow, Dave, and it's never been taken by anybody, right? They don't know. They've been testing it for like 4 months. And so far, everybody seems happy with it. You start taking it, no one knows how the Flintstone vitamin is going to affect you in 5 years. You could look like Bonnie Rubble completely, blonde hair and everything. And then what? Just saying. Flintstone vitamins. Could be it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, but I don't know what I'm saying.
Don't give your kids Flintstones vitamins. They
Basically.
They're like chalk too.
But basically, putting anything in someone's body and wondering how it's going to react is like Frankenstein. It's like it's on that level. It's you're not supposed to change genes, I would think. And you know what? I know you're going to tell me more about how it's progressing forward, because I could only think, ooh, if they can do that, then they're going to try to make Captain America.
That's coming up. So let's finish up with Jian Kui here.
All right.
So he's saying if he could try it all again, would he use a different approach? They're asking him this, and he stayed really vague, and he says he doesn't have an answer yet. And he has this long-term vision that each of us could be free from inherited diseases. So he's trying to return to his scientific research. And this time he's claiming he wants to develop affordable cures for genetic diseases. But he's not sharing any proof of how he intends to do it. Now, this person,
Dave, can I ask something?
Yeah.
Would you be in favor of somebody curing all diseases?
I would be. I wouldn't want people to suffer.
All right. Take the suffering out. Would you want all people to be able to live to like 90 years old? Do you know what would happen to society as a whole if everyone lived to 90 years old? Like, diseases suck.
Crazy.
I've lost so many family members to them, right? The big ones. But if you get rid of all diseases, I don't know if that's, I mean, doesn't Mother Nature thin the herd every now and then? And I don't mean to say it that way, but it's just like, how do you keep population down if everyone's healthy? You'd never get insurance. All these things would change if everybody's living at 90. Holy Christ. I mean, I guess you would get insurance, right? Because everybody lives at 90.
We wouldn't get Social Security. You'd have to hit 90 to get Social Security.
Hell yeah. Basketball players would be in their prime at 47.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. Like, you can't, I don't think you can get, you know what? Maybe that's another crazy statement of mine, but I don't think you could get or should get rid of every disease known to man. I don't know if the whole world should be like, I would love, no, all right. I'm all for curing certain diseases. I am. But then when I look at it on a large scale, I say to myself, we cured every single one. Is that what we're supposed to do? Like,
do you think new ones would continue to develop, though? So they would always be trying to cure something.
So my
you're hearing about antibiotic resistant, infections and things like that now.
Yes. There's the fear of they grow stronger as you try to put them all out.
Yeah.
Oh, you create mutated ones that now adapt to how you try to put them out.
Yeah, super bugs. Yeah. Throw that term out there every once in a while.
But in general, if there was one moment where there was not a single disease in the entire world, I don't know, man. That's a weird thing to wonder on.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that because we've never really had that.
Look, what did she say? The ecological function of diseases to manage. It is. That's my point. It's the thinning out of the herd. No matter what we do to the earth, I'm one of those people that believe in, how they say save the earth, save the bay, save this, you got to save this, it's raining in the forest, all that stuff. What I'm saying is the earth has been here and will be here after we're gone. Like, it's gonna outlive us, right? There's a better chance of the what are those San Andreas faults? I'm saying that wrong. The fault line.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Going. The Yellowstone volcano going. There's better shots of these things taking us out within the next 100 couple years. The Earth survived everything. An asteroid must have hit it. We had dinosaurs, I think, at one time.
We've had ice ages.
It was all water at one time. The Earth's still here. I always say to other people, I know polluting's bad and it's going to ruin the world. It is. But that's kind of what we do is this virus that we are as people. We're going to ruin the world eventually, ruin ourselves, and, the Earth will move on. Sorry to be so negative, but I'm wearing pink.
That's why they're trying to colonize Mars.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that, too? Not to get off track, but do you ever get any updates of what's going on Mars?
I did see a thing last week that they found. They're viewing there's some kind of circles that they've never seen before on Mars.
But what have you seen about what he's actually building there?
Oh, nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, it won't kill the planet, only make it unlivable for us. I agree. But you see what I'm saying? Do you know anything he's built? Like in other words, in my opinion, he's been building up there like a Ford factory. Like there's stuff going on. Like I wouldn't be shocked by the end of the year to see like a casino on Mars. Like that's how long he's been building stuff, dude. He's been sending up rockets for how long? Ah, come on. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
That's all good. So now we have Robin Lovell Badge. He's a molecular biologist and a decorated professor at London's Francis Crick Institute. And he says that Wankui is probably not the only rogue scientist out there. And the biggest concern is that you have all these other imposters trying to sell fake cures for diseases that have a genetic origin.
Snake oil.
Yeah, so something like that might already be happening in other countries that aren't as regulated. And he goes on to say he thinks that China hasn't given all the necessary explanations. We talked about that a little bit. China was supposed to conduct a thorough investigation that would reveal the complete genetic sequence of the babies and clarify all the effects of the editing that took place. But he goes on to say that that analysis was never done, and we don't know exactly what happened to those babies.
So those babies could be like turning into Hulks.
Yeah.
The Abomination and Rhino, that pair together. Like that'd be rough. But I'm just saying, like, we don't know what's going on. So that's a great thing. So what if
we don't know what's going on? And again, it's going to be years before we realize, how this is going to affect not only those babies, but think about if they reproduce and they have these modified genes, what happens when they try to pass those genes on to their children.
And what if they catch a virus and it goes through their system and their system processes it and creates a different variant of said virus because their DNA was messed with? So now they become like human petri dishes.
Maybe this is how zombies happen.
This is a smart idea overall. I don't think it's unethical. I don't see where the unethics would come in. I keep seeing ethic is all I keep thinking.
That word gets thrown around a lot, in the articles that I read. And then.
So can now you split your stuff here, Dave, and stop so we can bring Gene in because there's only so long you can hold jet fuel back.
I can. I'm
bring in Gene, and then you can give me the second half of your story. Joining us, jet fuel, Gene Broida.
Hey, Gene.
How are you? You mute? Yeah. I just said you mute. God damn it. Your mic is there. It is.
Howdy. Take two.
How are you, Gene? It was take two in the beginning. You have no idea. I talk with
technical difficulties all around.
Hey, if at first you don't succeed, well, you're probably
again.
Me.
Yeah. What do you got for us this week, Gene?
I'm doing great. Well, do you remember last week's topic?
Yes.
It was Nazca lines.
The Nazca lines. Okay, I've got an image queued up here. If you would oblige us, you're hiking around and you see this. You're hiking around and you see this wherever you are. Okay. And
I think it's a contest.
And think about Nazca lines. Okay, we talked about Nazca lines. What are Nazca lines? The Nazca lines are in Peru. They're viewable or visible. They're visible or viewable only from high altitude. We talked about hot air balloons being pre-airplanes. Okay, so if you'd had a hot air balloon out there, you could have seen them from an altitude. But there basically is very little altitude out there. We're on the mountaintops already, so it's hard to get a vantage point unless you're aerial. And the age of those lines in Peru is so old enough that one has to wonder who might have constructed these to have the precision that they have. It would almost seem as if you would need instruction from above. Okay, so you're walking around and you encounter something like this. What do we have here? We have a dry lake bed and furrows in it. Okay, that's the first.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me stay on the same page as you. That's a desert floor. And how deep were those holds, those lines?
Okay. You're getting ahead.
Dave, didn't you want to know that?
Show this.
All right. because I'm walking around. Oh, Gene, I can't show that. That's the wrong.
Yeah,
no,
show that. I dare you. Show that. Okay, so here's the aerial view of the same thing. Okay, we were at ground level before. This is a mandala, basically. And it's not in Peru. It's in Oregon. It's in a dry lake bed in Oregon. And here's the story. This is incredibly interesting. And I've covered this several times. Okay. So first of all, this image is called a Sri Yantra or Sri Chakra. Chakras like we have in the body, 7 chakras that are color coordinated and have attributes. Okay. So it was August 10th, 1990. An Idaho Air National Guard pilot named Bill Miller was flying around. He was flying around, and there, where there had not ever been one before, was a huge mysterious geoglyph. Geoglyph is what they're calling these things. It's a glyph or an image on the earth. Geoglyph. Okay, so it's inscribed. We saw that it looked furrowed. It's inscribed into this dry lake bed located in the Alvord Desert of Oregon in the United States. He was flying over it. These furrows, to answer your question, 10 inches wide, so not quite a foot, 10 inches wide, 3 inches deep. And it is a spitting image of an ancient Hindu meditation symbol, the Sri Yantra. So what's it doing there? Who made it? These were the questions that immediately sprang to mind. Okay.
All right.
What happened next was that people sat on the news for 30 days. And the U.S. media got hold of it on September 12th, 1990. And people were debating right away, could humans build such a thing? Could it be constructed? Okay. But there's more. There's actually another level to this story. To answer the question, is this a hoax? Basically, what happened was the idea was that this was so technologically advanced, it would take so much money and machinery and effort, person hours to make such a thing, given how big it is, which is enormous, that it would cost a very large amount of money. So who would have that kind of money to do it? It's not impossible.
Can I make one comment?
You may.
The only way that reason that I would consider that people made it is that it's a duplicate halves. In other words, one half is the exact same drawing and measurements and structures and designs as the other half. So where the middle eye is drawn, they start 2 triangles exactly the same measurement, size, going both ways. Every symbol going both ways till it ends. So the middle, it almost like they unfolded it and they had 2 perfect halves. I'm just saying, like, in other words, they could have just copied the other side exactly to make that beautiful. I'm just saying.
Oh, yes.
If you
Yes,
fold it
indeed.
in half, it looks like something. She wants to sit in the middle of it. Feels like something cool would happen if I did.
So this pictograph,
Dirty bum, right?
This geoglyph or pictograph was first reported by Lieutenant Colonel Bill Miller on August 10th, 1990. He returned on August 24th to photograph this image from his RF-4C Phantom jet. And this is from the source Captain Michael Gallagher. Gallagher said it was unlikely the design was built before the middle of July in 1990 because pilots on training exercises in the Air National Guard would have spotted it. This was a common route for them. This was flown regularly. I'm not saying daily, but this was a training exercise route, part of a training exercise route.
What was the time window?
So this Captain Michael Gallagher believes that it was unlikely, probably not built before the middle of July because pilots would have spotted it. They had not seen this geoglyph earlier. And so it supposedly was created in late July. Okay, so we've got an approximate date of its creation. All right.
How long? What's the
So,
window, Gene? What's the
Sergeant-
longest window? What's the longest window of time that they think that it could have been made in?
Couple
Like,
of weeks.
couple
It
weeks,
sounded
all
like. Okay, couple of weeks.
All right.
It sounded like to me. Okay. So, but wait, there's more. Sergeant Charlie Swindell drove to the desert site. This is high altitude desert. It's very hard to reach. When I talked in the first slide about you're walking around, you're hiking around, and you see this on the ground, it's not likely at this place in Oregon that you're going to be walking around because it's a treacherous, hazardous place. It's there's no hiking trails here that I know of. It's a high altitude desert, basically. I'm at a loss for words almost. But this Sergeant Charlie Swindell did drive out there, and he measured this Sri Yantra, and he measured it as being 1,563 feet square. So that's about 173 square yards. A yard is 3 feet, people. Okay.
Yeah, I know. But that's a lot of math for us to do really quick.
He found many surveying stakes at corners driven deep into the ground with nails and pink plastic ribbons on them. Well, this is in direct contradiction to another report that, let me find this here. Here we go. 2 UFO researchers, Don Newman and Alan Decker, visited the site on the morning of September 15th and reported that no trace of tire track markings or footprints were visible anywhere close to the site, even though their own station wagon had left 1/4-inch deep marks into the hard crust of the surface along the track where they had approached the formation. So what's interesting about this story to me as a conspiracy researcher is that we have 2 narratives that are contradictory. In the first narrative, an art teacher named Bill, Bill Witherspoon. Bill Witherspoon came forward very much like the 2 old gentlemen, I should say elderly, the 2 elderly gentlemen in Britain, Great Britain, who famously claimed that they had constructed every single crop circle everywhere in the world, basically. And the press picked that up and they ran with it, which made a lot of conspiracy researchers believe that those 2 guys had been paid off basically by the CIA or some such, MI5, some such intelligence gathering organization
Or
to spread
TMZ.
information about crop circles. Okay, back in the day. This was
it's
decades ago.
easy to tell which ones are faked, right? Because the ones that are faked, the leaves or the grass or whatever, it's just kind of pressed down. But in a true crop circle, there's some kind of residue from heat that is cooked or
Like a
burned
microwave
from
effect.
the vegetation.
Okay,
right?
next week, crop circles.
Okay.
Next week, and it's really a nice progression. Nazca lines to Sri Yantra in Oregon to crop circles, and crop circle central is in England, in southern England. So we'll visit that next on our world tour of weird stuff, High Strangest. We will go over there across the Great Pond next week. But for now, let's focus on this strange thing in Oregon. Was it constructed by art teacher Bill Witherspoon and 4 cohorts, like art students? Because I have a time-lapse video that art students did create in England. They're called crop circle makers. They make crop circles. They are self-professed circle makers. They don't claim to be mysterious or paranormal. They are art people and they want to make crop circles, so they do. And so the question arises, is this more durable construction in the high altitudes of Oregon the product of an art? Is it really an art project? Or is that a cover story invented by intelligence agencies who don't want anyone to know that basically this shouldn't be there? There's no technology that exists that could explain it, given the period of time, say 2 weeks, and the fact that according to one report, there were no marks. According to another report, there were all the marks of a surveying site, basically, right? The pegs with the pink ribbons. It's one or the other, unless somebody came along and removed evidence. But there would still probably be tire tracks, I'm thinking. There's a lot of unknowns here, and that's typical of these stories of high strangeness, that we get contradictory information, and it leaves the researcher to tease the truth from the fiction. What do you think?
The thing is, it's so perfectly, beautifully drawn and designed that, and it's got 4 corners, and everything is just geometrically perfect. That's where I feel like it could have been drawn, especially by art students, right? Now, the thing is, say it wasn't art students, say they can't explain who drew this. The problem with things like this is it doesn't get that much run. Like, people will be like, oh yeah, that is a crazy looking symbol. I wonder who did that. And that's as far as they go into the research of it. Like, no one really ever finds out who did this stuff because we kind of can't. But again, back to this, Dave.
Well, I have to interject right here. I have to say, this is an ancient Vedic symbol from India. Anyone from India would recognize this instantly. This is a symbol that people use to meditate with. Okay.
But it's also something that they've seen, like you said, that they could draw. And it's, again, perfectly. Dave, do you understand what I'm saying about the?
I do.
There's a lot of arcane geometry to this. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I think certain politicians might claim that space lasers were involved in making this.
Yeah. It's beautiful. No, it's beautiful.
No, it's unbelievably beautiful. Look, here's what I keep thinking. Even if it was a couple of guys that did this, a couple of girls, whatever. Beautiful work. Holy crap. Come do that to my come work on my lawn. Like, what I'm saying is that's where I get caught of what did people make this, because it's so perfectly like measured. You can see it. Everything has got the exact same measurements. It's beautiful. It looks like
is somebody telling the Air National Guard in Oregon to go within and meditate?
Maybe. Dave, what do you think?
I don't know. I want to know, have they tested the soil for any kind of residue? Has it been burned by some kind of heat source, like that kind of stuff?
Or is it just
how much have they, Gene? Do we know how much they've researched this to try to?
We know they have researched it, but I don't know what the results of that research are.
Yeah, you won't, and they won't tell you.
No, just like the gene editing. That I was talking about.
The best way to not explain something is to just not explain it. U.S. government.
The other notable thing about this formation, this Sri Yantra, is we know it's modern. All right. We know 1990 it appeared. Okay. So unlike Nazca lines, which go back, 500 Common Era to 500 before Common Era. And that's basically a way of citing dates without mentioning Jesus Christ. But basically it's 580 to 500 BC or thereabouts. Okay. In rough numbers. So those Nazca lines were constructed in about a 1,000-year period, whereas Sri Yantra went up in 2 weeks.
There's a new terminology for BC. What's the word for before Christ? The time before Christ now? What do we call it?
BC is before Christ. BCE you may see in your travels. That's before the Common Era, BCE.
Oh, all right.
And the dates that I found for the Nazca lines were expressed in BCE.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if they got rid of BC, and I didn't know.
No.
I was wondering if they got rid of before Christ as a timestamp.
And I think so.
I didn't know about that.
They got rid of Pluto as a planet.
Yeah, but was it really pulling its own weight?
Yeah. Astrologically speaking, heck to the yeah.
I was not I gotta stand like this. I was just never a big fan of Pluto, the dog, the planet.
Pluto the dog, not so much.
Not a lot.
Pluto the planet, yeah.
Dave, you're gonna continue, and I'm gonna go fiddle with the light for a second. So please continue on with your story.
Yeah, you got part 2?
I do.
Cool.
So to follow up with, let's see, Robin Lovell Badge, he goes on to say that each country is responsible for the regulation of the gene editing of human cells, including the most delicate, that of sperm, eggs, and embryos. If a pregnancy is induced by assisted fertilization with this biological material, the changes in the DNA would pass from generation to generation, so it would alter the genetic inheritance of our species. So all that the science community claims that they can do is just publicly denounce these imposters who are doing these unethical experiments, and so that people can become more aware that these scientists, they say, have no idea what they're doing. I think they know exactly what they're doing. And we'll fast forward to Dieter Egli from Columbia University. He's investigated the unwanted effects of John Kui's editing of the CCR5 gene. Again, this is supposedly to create an immunity against the AIDS and HIV viruses. And he says that this process introduces additional errors at the chromosome level. Many of these errors are incompatible with life. So this lack of information that we have makes it impossible to know if John Kui's gene editing actually took place, or if the embryos rejected the edits that he made and just moved on and grew normally. In any case, he points out that this technique that was used, it's not yet safe. And they shouldn't be making genetically modified babies.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Did this guy John Huey, is that his name?
John Kui.
Okay. John Kui. You ever watch basketball, you think?
I watch basketball from time to time. Not my favorite sport.
No, not you. John Kui.
Oh, I don't know.
Basketball fan?
I don't know.
You ever hear of Magic Johnson?
Yeah.
All right. He's still alive.
Yeah, he takes the AIDS cocktail.
Yeah, so what's the rush with the HIV virus cure? Like, do you think like COVID came along and he was like, oh Jesus, now I gotta go, like, because he's like 3 diseases back. Like, he's beating a dead horse with this. Right. Don't they have a pill now on TV that if you have your HIV, come take this pill?
They even have, like, if you're gonna engage in risky behaviors, take this pill before, and it'll reduce your chances of getting HIV.
So I got to take a pill every time I go to the casino?
Maybe.
All right, continue. Sorry.
So Egli compares this problem with editing a book. So you have your initial copy and it's read and it's edited before it's sent to print, hopefully, because I've read some pretty crappy books that weren't edited very well. But once these books go to print, it's impossible to recall all the books and edit each one to fix the errors. And he says the same is true of human cells. So if there are a few cells of an embryo that are safely and effectively corrected, a disease that after birth would be impossible to avoid can be eliminated. So he's saying it is possible for them to edit these genes and eliminate disease. But now we're going to go back to Lovell Badge. He's bashing this work and saying it's unethical. But here he is saying he's thinking of military applications of this stuff now. So here's where Captain America comes into play.
Of course.
This guy says that they could contemplate altering humans so that they could be resistant to chemical weapons and biological weapons. And the military is already thinking of making those enhancements to people. And then he takes it even further, and he's saying they're also thinking about how they can make humans that could see infrared or ultraviolet light, as some animals can do. So now,
we need that. Yeah, do that.
And he's saying that if we could do this stuff to people, it would make for ideal troops fighting at night or in other hostile conditions.
Sure.
So he's saying it's unethical on one end, but then he's saying, well, if we do it for the military and we make these super soldiers, that might be okay.
We should make guns for hands. Just have guns ready for hands, right? Like, why not do that? That's the same to me. Because, dude, back in all the wars, they shot the soldiers up at like some sort of speed crank meth type crap. I know the Germans did a lot of that. They would crank out their people and get them all whacked out and send them out in the battlefield. They'd feel no fear, no pain, no nothing. They'd just go running like crazy.
Yeah, even if they got shot, they kept going for a little bit longer than the average person.
Yeah, they've been doing that to people out in. Dude, the shit they've done to soldiers to send them to war is going to be already up there. Like I said, Mars already has them all. Has to. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I digress.
No, that's pretty much it. So we're left with the questions like, what are the consequences of modifying these genes, especially of these babies where it's already occurred? You know, and as I mentioned earlier, what happens if they go out and have kids? Are they going to pass on, you know, these altered genes to their children? Will it mutate? You know, did this even work like that other scientist said?
You know what, though? You got to keep these kids, these people, whatever they are now, secret. I would not give out all their information.
No, they are. Like the doctor refuses. That John Cooey says you have to respect these kids' privacy, and
it's not just that. Dave, think about all the people that would want to go out there and kill these kids. Like, think about all the people that would go, "Oh my God, they're not real." They're gonna like. Think of these people that think the Terminator is actually non-fictional. Like, these kids would be in danger, I would think.
That, or you're gonna have some scientists who just want to keep them in a bubble and put them under a microscope and dissect every little thing about them.
Gene, what are your thoughts about gene splicing on babies experimented?
I don't know, but what you just said, I'll come back to it. What you just said reminded me of that plastic that had metal in it, that it was shaped into a little dude and it melted. They subjected it to temperature, didn't they? And it melted and went through the bars. I think they had a magnet outside this cage and it extruded this thing through the bars of the cage. And then they showed it reconstituting, but the report said they're not there yet. But, you know, gene splicing, you know,
let me ask you this.
When we're talking about gene splicing and prosthetics, if that's in fact a prosthetic, a remedial procedure, certainly, you know, it's something to improve our quality of life. And people have been trying to improve their quality of life health-wise since time immemorial. Some of the first archaeological evidence of healthcare has to do with our teeth, dentistry, and getting rid of toothaches and stuff. So I like to think of peg legs for prosthetics. Has the world gone to heck in a handbasket because of peg legs, the first artificial limbs or some of the first artificial limbs? No, I don't think so. So is gene splicing really bad? Maybe. I don't know. In the wrong hands, it could be diabolical. But what couldn't? So could peg legs.
Gene, the comparison of splicing DNA genes of babies to a peg leg is like comparing me and Dave suiting up in football pads and going to play a professional team with just the two of us and thinking we have a shot of winning. Dave, is that a comparison that you would agree with? A peg leg to gene splicing? A peg leg is just a piece of wood they used to put on an old guy, like wooden teeth. Let him hobble around.
Well,
that
person's already, their limb has already been damaged beyond repair, and they're trying to improve that person's quality of life. Like, these babies have no idea that these things are being done to them. I don't know. Especially when they're saying the techniques aren't perfected yet, I don't think they should be messing around with people's genes.
Oh, how could they be perfected? They're not perfected until they keep practicing.
Well, are the people volunteering to have their genes messed around with?
Well, these are babies. I don't know how they could be volunteering.
Well, their parents.
Yeah, that still doesn't.
We don't know. They're not talking about that
from?
stuff. So we don't know if the parents volunteered or if someone, you know, did some stuff secretly without them knowing.
Because he won't tell anything about them.
Because it would seem to me that if I were a parent with known genetic problems, deformities even in my
but this is for
heritage, you know, in my family health history, that if I could prevent that with some gene splicing or something, I would be tempted.
I can
as a prospective parent.
I can totally understand that. But this guy is trying to make HIV resistant people.
Okay.
Well, good luck with that.
Listen,
Fauci couldn't do it. Good luck. Fauci couldn't
allegedly.
do it in 35 years. So good luck
Allegedly.
with that.
Allegedly. So I remember walking in to my wife giving birth. They had a white tent set up, so I couldn't see that side of it. Right now, if prior to that they told me there's a chance your kids might have X, Y, and Z, but we have this new thing where we splice the genes. The minute they said that, I go, no, you're not touching them. You're not changing them. You're not gonna go in there and fix things. I don't trust you touching them. Listen, here's my question. You guys afraid to die? Be honest.
No.
I've had some experiences that have made me like not afraid.
So then what's the big deal with stopping death so much?
Other people are afraid,
you
apparently.
experiment on babies to find ways to not get HIV. Come on now. I mean, if that was cancer, I'm going to be in the game a little bit with you. But HIV for babies?
Here's
Nobody
the other
wants
thing.
HIV either.
Yeah,
but here's the other thing.
Though.
If he's making them HIV resistant, at some point he's gonna have to try to infect those people to see if they really are resistant. And to me, that's like double the unethicalness.
Yeah, he's got to, right? He's got to. They at some point have to come in contact with it, because what's the point of the experiment, right?
Right.
All right. So I got something I want to go really quick. Here's what I want to read, and this is something I don't get. A lot of people do. Let's figure out why. Having to watch the classic horror flick It through your fingers, hoping your friends don't hire a clown for their child's birthday party, could point to signs of having a common yet misunderstood phobia. This fear of clowns, called colorophobia, who cares, can make a person feel uneasy, distressed, and even disgusted when they see a clown, maniacal or not. While there is little research on why a character that is supposed to bring joy to people can make them run one way or the other, studies suggest this fear could be linked to clowns' exaggerated facial features and behavior, particularly the way it's portrayed in popular media. It says, researchers found that one of the top reasons why people are afraid is because their exaggerated facial features similar to dolls and mannequins. The study suggests it's near human makeup that can make a person feel uneasy about clowns. Additionally, the makeup can hide their actual expressions, which could make a person feel afraid of never knowing exactly how the clown looks, or whether they're happy or angry. Now, let's go through some clowns. I happen to like clowns. I have never been scared of a clown. Can't figure out why people are so terrified. Here we go. Bozo the clown. Does that scare you, Dave? Gene, did that scare you or no? Be honest. It's Bozo. Dave, does that scare you?
That's
Be honest.
frightening. That's
All right.
frightening. Look at that mouth.
So Gene's
That
scared.
nose.
That's Bozo. He gave out Tootsie Rolls. I'm not scared at all.
No,
Next.
Bozo.
Dave?
No,
Scared?
Not scared.
No, he's not.
All right, I'm a
scared.
little more scared of him. I would hang out with Bozo before I'd hang out with this character.
No, this guy's
He's in
cool.
he's in a kid's park. Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh,
Now,
Red
Skeleton. When I was a kid, this was called a bum.
Yeah.
A hobo.
A hobo. Yep.
Can't say that anymore, apparently. Can't call them bums or hobos. But that's what this was. That was the type of clown that this was. Does this scare you, Dave?
No.
But he's got a beard, Dave. A white mouth with a beard. Doesn't it scare you?
No.
Gene?
No, that's Red Skeleton.
Oh, so you know him, though. I'm asking you to look at the clown. Here we go next.
Ah!
Dave?
Nah, I'm still not scared.
Me neither. Gene?
I don't like this.
All right. You know why I don't think he's scary? Dave?
Frowny, angular,
Dave?
weird.
Yeah.
You know why he's not scary?
Why?
Too much work put into the makeup.
True.
Dave?
Yeah.
He's not going to mess that makeup up to kill you. Yeah,
Right.
Too much work. Too much work.
You got
Look
some
at
on
him.
the bow tie.
Next.
Messy. Ah!
Dave, scare you?
No.
Gene,
Yeah.
scare you?
Yeah, that's good makeup.
That's
Look at his
Captain
teeth.
Howdy, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, if I met him and did not know who he was, would he scare me? Probably at first, but not because he's dressed like a clown. It's not at all his makeup that scares me. It's his eyes and his teeth.
His teeth are pretty bad.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the clown makeup. So would he scare me? Probably without the makeup more. Next.
That's a jackalope in the background, by the way,
Yes, it is.
hanging on the wall.
Scare you or not? Gene.
No.
Nah.
Dave, no? This is
No.
from Poltergeist, right? The clown under the
Eh.
bed. All right, doesn't scare
Eh.
me at all. But now that's a happy clown. All right? Last one.
Yeah.
Gene, scare you.
Great makeup.
Does it scare you?
Looks a little
Dave.
Halloweeny.
Dave.
No, it doesn't scare me.
But
All
with the right lights and the right scene, yeah, that could scare me.
Stupid teeth for this character. Stupid teeth. Dumb teeth.
Like you're missing the killer clowns from outer space.
No, I didn't bring those up because those are funny. Those are just funny looking. But does this scare you?
No.
So let's run through clowns. Ready?
Not like the first one. Not like Bozo.
Which one's the scariest clown of all? This one? This one?
Bozo.
Dave, scariest clown you saw?
Maybe let's see. That one.
He's the scariest?
Probably.
Gene, who's your pick?
Number 1.
Oh my god, that's my favorite. He used to give out Tootsie Rolls that were this big with all kinds of toys. This is by far my scariest of the clowns, because this, my friends, is a guy in the worst possible outfit man could wear, wearing gloves so he leaves no prints in a kid's playground. Now, there's only one kid in the picture with him. Does she look happy?
No.
Okay. What is he pushing that's yellow? There's kids behind him. What is Ronald McDonald doing in this photo? I don't like this character. This scares me the most. Yeah. So Uncanny Valley, is that the issue? The fear of something nearly human but slightly off. Yeah, yes and no. So I think yes and no, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to say yes and no. I think people are terrified of things that look like them, or they can see themselves in, but aren't quite them. I think that's in general. So, all right, clowns, yeah, the exaggerated features. That's kind of freaky, blows their minds. Now, people don't want to talk about this, but some people have a fear of little people. And that's, I guess, what we're calling them. People that size, but they have that fear. And that's
at
a fact.
5'1", I guess I'm in trouble then, Mike.
Yeah,
People
actually,
fear me.
what is it, 4'11"? I think you can get the handicap plate in Rhode Island.
It's 4'10". 4'10". Under 4'10", I think it is.
Now, I had a moment where I was scared by a little person, and this is a true story, and it's not to be mean, but it's true. I'm walking my son back from a Giants game. Now, you understand, after a Giants game, you're in New Jersey, you're very protective of your son. I'm making sure that wherever I go, he's over here, and I'm blocking him. Some people, see, and this is going to sound offensive, but I don't mean it to be. I thought I saw a dog come running through the pack because people were splitting, and it was coming at me. And when he ran up to me, it was a little person in a Giants helmet with the old one rim bar, Giants jersey, short shorts, and shoes. And he came running through the crowd, and I was in his way, and he went, ah, and I went, oh, and I was like, all my manhood dropped out of my body. I felt horrible about that. And then I felt bad of my reaction to what he did. But he scared the daylights out of me because I didn't see him coming. And the next thing I know, he's all dressed up like a football player. I was trying to explain to my son, look, dude, if someone was crawling through the crowd like that fast, it would have scared me just as much. That was my point. Had nothing to do with what he was how high he was. That I could not see someone he was at waist level, Dave. It was through a crowd. It was like, I actually thought it was like a gopher going through the crowd. That's what it looked like. It was, what the is going on with the crowd? Because usually it's splitting like this. You don't see a head. You don't see that jerk going, oh, get out of my way. You just, next thing you know, it's right on me. So how would you have reacted to that? Honestly.
I think I would have been startled.
Yeah. Yeah. Gene?
Well, I'm so short that I'd probably be right down there at pretty much the same level. And if anything rushed up on me, I'd be startled. I think that's just a natural reaction.
How tall are you?
I'm with you, Gene.
Gene, how tall are you?
Well, I lost a couple of inches due to losing the discs compressed arthritis and stuff.
What do you go by? What's your
I
height?
was 5'1",
Yep.
and now I'm 5'2", but I had been 5'3.5" for my adult life, basically.
Huh? Dave, you're what?
I'm 5'1".
My parents were 5'3". My brothers are 5'6". So the Italians were in that familiar territory. But then again, at one point I was 6 feet, 130 pounds. So I don't think my body was meant to grow as fast as it did. I grew way too fast. Like I looked like a baby deer for a couple of years. You know what I mean? Like I just look like I shouldn't be walking. Like, is he gonna fall at any second? That was kind of me. So back to clowns really quick. I don't know what it is. Like, I think people they fed into the whole, oh yeah, clowns are scary bullcrap so much to the point now where evil people use clown makeup to just try to add that whole mystique of it. I'm terrified of anyone who comes crawling aggressively towards me on the ground. Pause. Something about fast crawling, like in so many zombie movies. Yeah, that's my point. Fast crawling. But I would take away. See, the first line, I am not terrified of anyone who comes crawling aggressively towards me on the ground. That's not true. I'm terrified of most who come aggressively towards me on the ground. Not going to say any names, but you know who you are. If you came aggressively, I'm talking to a lot of famous movie stars. They came moving aggressively, crawling through the crowd. Hey, now I'm going to help them up. I want to see if they got a problem. They might be hurt. Anything to wrap it up, Gene? Anything to add? Anything you want to throw at us?
These are interesting times, certainly.
Oh my God, they are. Oh my God, they are. We don't even talk about the real political news because we can't. But it's getting to the point where I heard a Kennedy is running.
Yeah.
That's ballsy.
Yeah, as a Democrat to try to take. How do I figure out? I'm very dumb to this. I speak for the dumb. When did they make the decision if he's going to run again? And who makes the decision? Is it him because he's the president, or does the Democratic Party have a meeting and they decide? How does that work? Honestly, does anyone know?
Well, if you listen to Bill Hicks, that stuff's all predetermined anyway. And
decades ahead. Decades and decades ahead.
All right, but is he gonna? But what I'm trying to say is, all these Democrats are popping up oh, we're gonna replace him. So it's worse than I've seen it in other years. Does that mean there's a chance he wouldn't run again? As a
He's
Democrat?
too old. He's too old.
I know
Just
what he
break
is.
his kneecaps or something.
What I'm asking is there any way that they could have another Democrat run for office?
They gauge it by how popular he is towards the end of his term, I believe. What his chance would be against whoever is running against him, and
his health, his polls, his poll ratings.
Right.
Okay. So basically, what you're saying is he needs a war.
Yes, a war right now would be very good for his reelection.
That or they're going to pull a weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. No, he just needs a war, and he needs to come out and show how injustice was so bad and how he stamped it out and how he did this and how he did that. And if I was him, I would jazzercise. I would work out, do push-ups, and then flip off the camera. And then his ratings would go through the roof. Because it'd be I got this. I think it would go up. I don't know about the flexing, but you know what I mean? I think if he started a war and he showed that he was the one that saved us, because the other way to get rid of a president is to have a virus or something break out at the end of their term. Allegedly. Dave, what do you guys say to wrap it up?
I'm working on some cool stuff for next week. So make sure you come back and see us next week.
Okay. What I want to say is don't forget to go to blockislandghosttours.com. We have 3 events this summer, June, July, and August. In June, we're having Tim Weisberg and Michelle Freed. In July, we're having Matt Warner. How did I forget that? Matt Warner, of course. And then in August, would be Christopher DeCesare. Chris is a great guy. Like, so are the other people. But, Dave, you would get along with Chris tremendously. And the volume at which you both speak would be the same. You might actually harmonize just talking because of, like, wait till you meet him.
We could be twins. I'll have to sail away on the Block Island ferry then, maybe.
Dude, and on top of that, the events we got planned, the beach time we have planned, the
quality time you get with the speakers and the guests and with all the other attendees.
Plus, you get to hang around with me. I might not be good here, but you put me on an island. Oh my God, forget about it. Forget about it. I can't wait to be on that island. They're going to be, who's the old guy, right? With the tattoos and the white beard that keeps, he's just drunk. And they're going to be like, oh, no, we know him. That's me, this guy right here. All right, let me wrap this up. Guys, tune in tomorrow night, 8:05 for legit paranormal clips. Buddy has locked down 2 people to bring their EVPs or video clips for us to review. I'm looking forward to that one. Now, so for Jet Fuel Gene Broida, for Dreamy David Barr, it is me. Mike Levery King, Mike Elders was legit paranormal news brought to you by legitpodcast.com. We will see you again next week.